How do you release being a victim? That's what we're going to talk about this episode. Hey everybody, Randy Gage here. I want to welcome you to another episode of Prosperity TV. As you can see, I'm coming to you from my place in California, and I want to talk about victimhood. More specifically, how you release it, how you let go of it, what it is, how you fall into that pattern, and most importantly, how do you end it forever? So what do I mean by victimhood? I mean becoming what I did for the first 30 years of my life, which was to be a professional victim. And not only was I a professional victim, but I surrounded myself with other people who were professional victims. So in other words, we would get together, we would commiserate, and I'd talk about how my landlord was such an SOB because he put an eviction notice on my door, and someone else would be complaining about they got their power shut off, and we just it was the most toxic thing you could possibly imagine. And I had no idea at that time. All I just knew is that the world was miserable, and I kept getting all these bad breaks and horrible luck, and bad things happened to me, and none of it was my fault, and I was an innocent victim. And you guys, most of you have heard me tell the story. By the time I was around 30 and I had my business seized by the IRS, and I finally said, okay, I've had like 11 negative dysfunctional relationships in a row. I've had 3 or 4 business failures. I have all these health challenges. Is there one person who was always at the scene of the crime? And of course, I hated the answer to that question, but that question was the biggest breakthrough question, biggest breakthrough moment in my life, when I really said, okay, yeah, there is one commonality here. The one commonality is me. And I'm here in every one of these scenarios, and I have to have some kind of responsibility for that. So that was a huge breakthrough for me. It can be a huge breakthrough for you. But you gotta understand a couple of things. First thing you gotta understand is basic foundational premise, everything we talk about. You can be a victim, you can be a victor, but you can't be both. You gotta choose one or the other. So you gotta choose. I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to be a victor. Second thing you gotta understand is the emotional payoff that comes from being a victim. Because there's a reason why we fall into victim situations, is because we get some kind of payoff. If we always getting ripped off in business and we're always broke, then we feel noble because we bought into all the memes and the programming that it's spiritual to be poor, or it's noble to be poor, and all the honorable people are poor, and all the evil, mean, greedy people are rich. So there's a payoff there. In my case, a lot of time in my early years, that's how I was so emotionally dysfunctional, so emotionally stunted, I couldn't accept love. So what I could accept was sympathy, right? I couldn't be in a real relationship, because to be in a relationship, you have to be vulnerable, you have to be able to give love, you have to be able to receive love. I wasn't able to do that at that point in my life. But I desperately wanted to be loved, like I think everybody in the world does. So what did I do? I manifested situations where I could get sympathy, where people would feel sorry for me, and that was the emotional payoff for it. So your homework this week, I want you to think about, have you fallen into a victim scenario? And number 2, if you have, what is the payoff you're getting for it? And then the third thing, are you willing to let that go? Are you willing to release being a victim and embrace being a victor? All right, what do you think about that? Please share do the work, really think about it, and then share your thoughts below in the comments. And as always, I appreciate it if you get out the word on Prosperity TV, wherever you're seeing it. If it's on Facebook, share it in your stream, or YouTube, like it and share it. We put it up every week on iTunes as a podcast. Until next week, have an amazing week. Peace, love you guys, and live rich. if you're wondering, well, how do I know if I'm if I've become a professional victim? And the answer is, if you have to ask yourself, you probably are. Which leads us to the amazing breakthrough question, which is, okay, how do you stop being a victim and become a victor? And here's the answer. You decide to. See you next Monday with a new